Although it was veiled in a metaphor, Gallino essentially explained to the viewers why he only wants to collaborate with Tommy rather than Cami. Some people are hawks, some are snakes, and some are prey like rabbits, as Gallino explained to Cami. As a dubious businessman with dubious morals and scruples, Gallino saw himself as a snake. He plays both for blood and for keeps. Additionally, he only works with equally hazardous negotiators because he has a sense of honor. Gallino saw Tommy as a hawk and himself as a snake. Tommy eats snakes like other snakes, therefore even if he isn't as morally reprehensible as Gallino, Gallino still sees him as a worthy foe. Gallino, on the other hand, thinks Cami is a bunny. She is fresh to the oil business and lacks Gallino and Tommy's ruthless strategies. Gallino decided to deal with Tommy because he believed that bargaining with Cami would be too simple and dishonorable. But Tommy's industrial expertise and tenacity aren't the only reasons Gallino sees him as a formidable opponent. Gallino would negotiate with Cami under false pretenses if he did. She lacks all the necessary knowledge about her business partner, including the fact that his name isn't Dan Morel and that he has ties to the cartel. But Gallino already has power over Tommy because of his investments in Cooper, and Tommy is fully aware of who Gallino is. Gallino's sense of honor might go beyond that. It would be quite simple to con Cami out of a multi-million-dollar contract because she doesn't know who he really is. It will be much more difficult for Gallino to exploit Tommy in Landman's future because Tommy is fully aware of who Gallino is. By allowing Tommy to fight him rather than Cami, Gallino may be making this arrangement more sporting and enjoyable for himself. Gallino believes that facing him would be more respectable because he is a more formidable foe. Gallino agreed to assist M-Tex and Cami, but he refused to engage in negotiations with her. In order to fix the offshore rig, Cami was requesting $350 million. Gallino agreed to pay M-Tex and work out the details with Tommy, but he didn't agree to any particular figures, interest rates, or terms of a transaction. In essence, Gallino is providing Cami with the money she sorely needs to fix the offshore gas rig and prevent an expensive lawsuit. Apart from the fact that Gallino is a kind investor, the most peculiar aspect of the case is that he accepted the contract but declined to engage in negotiations with Cami. When Gallino questioned Cami about why she was negotiating the agreement rather than Tommy, he used the metaphor of snakes devouring their own to explain that he would let the snakes figure out the rest. This implies that Gallino will only discuss the conditions of this financial life preserver with Tommy rather than Cami. However, Landman Season 2, Episode 4 focused on more than only Tommy and TL's previous relationship. Additionally, Rebecca Falcone developed a new bond with an enigmatic roughneck she encountered while flying. Rebecca had a one-night stand and woke up in his bed the following morning after drinking to ease her anxiety during the turbulence. Although Landman didn't provide us with much information regarding Rebecca's new romantic interest, we still have some material to examine. Although Guy Barnett, who plays the roughneck, didn't reveal his name in the episode, he is listed as Charlie in Landman's credits. Charlie said he works in the oil fields, but he didn't specify what he does or for whom. Fortunately, we may presume Charlie works for M-Tex based on the promotional images of Landman Season 2 that showed him in the same room as Cami and Tommy. Rebecca and Charlie may have an extremely uncomfortable reunion if that turns out to be the case. That might, however, also indicate that Charlie and Rebecca will begin dating. Rebecca seemed interested in Charlie after she regained her bearings and saw his lovely abode. It's obvious that Charlie likes Rebecca. Charlie and Rebecca could be Landmen if they had more time to get to know one another at work. Rebecca takes a break from her professional responsibilities while Cami tackles M-Tex's multi-million-dollar rig issue in the Gulf. Interestingly, Gallino won't compromise with Cami, saying that only predators like Tommy and himself should handle the details. I guess this was Dan's method of discouraging Cami from getting her hands dirty and increasing Tommy.N's newest couple's responsibility and leverage. Beneath all the high drama, Cooper and Ariana also make a positive turn, figuring out a new dynamic that doesn't include Cooper's newfound fortune taking precedence over Ariana's sense of normalcy. Their developing relationship can be compared to Tommy and Angela's erratic and probably messy beginnings, one that is full of passion, toxicity, and a great deal of luck. Even while Ainsley hasn't been used as much in Landman Season 2 thus far, it's also a huge comfort that she is developing her own character in the show. Ainsley will hopefully begin to take more of a humanized rather than objectified path, particularly in the poignant encounter she exchanges with her father near the conclusion of the episode. Her own course going ahead. With Cooper's and now TL's greater involvement, as well as exciting new setups that highlight uncharted territory in the oil industry, such as last week's CO gas, and untapped reserves of the Norris family's past, Landman has found its footing after a relatively safe season premiere. In general, this most recent Landman episode is lifting the standard and establishing a new tone for the entire second season. In the conclusion of Landman Season 2, Episode 4, Tommy goes to comfort Ainsley after noticing her sobbing while watching a Julia Stiles film. Please let me know what she's watching in the comments. No, the movie isn't the reason she's crying, rather, it's her dad's story about his mother that has so infuriated her that she is actually crying. She is so sympathetic that she finds it unbearable that her father had to go through all of that. Tommy responds by slightly altering his song. He has shown himself to be Dorothy and Thomas's worst enemy thus far, however. He discloses a crucial detail that he has been avoiding up until now when he realizes that his animosity toward his parents is harming his own daughter. Why? Because it prevents him from openly hating his parents. Tommy discloses that he has a sibling and is not Dorothy and Thomas's sole child. Dorothy was devastated by her death from SIDS. And Thomas was so disturbed by Dorothy's spiral that all he could do to get through the day was concentrate on his work. Tommy's childhood was terrible as a result. After all these years, why does he still have resentment for them? Perhaps because he believes that's the only perspective he has on his parents. Nevertheless, Tommy starts to believe that it's time to put Dorothy behind him when he sees that his own daughter may be sympathetic enough to feel so strongly for his father and also forgive her grandma for hurting Tommy, despite the fact that she has never seen Dorothy. Angela's suggestion that they relocate Thomas from Prairie View to his hometown so he can spend his final years with his family feeds this idea. Tommy unexpectedly follows Angela's advice and brings Thomas to his home. I had predicted in the first episode that Angela would rebel against Thomas's desire to live with the other Norrises. That must have been my Hindi soap opera brain talking since I completely misunderstood Angela, and I'm happy that she inspired Tommy to reconcile with Thomas. At this age, I'm beginning to see that harboring resentment is unhealthy. Yes, you should be upset with those who intentionally cause you harm just for the sake of doing so. You should be upset with legislators who do nothing to assist you in relocating after failing to take the necessary precautions to prevent wildfires on your street. However, you should attempt to make amends with your alleged adversaries after a while if you are aware that you were harmed by someone who was also suffering. Giving yourself the chance to live a life free of regret is just as important as giving someone another chance to make amends. Tommy is an empath underneath his tough facade, therefore if he hadn't brought Thomas home, he would have punished himself for it after Thomas passed away. In any case, this episode's Tommy Thomas plotline brought tears to my eyes. It was, in my opinion, incredibly well written and performed.